again with another Manchester United podcast. Your boys back doing a solo thing. And listen, I want you guys to be as interactive as you possibly can. We are a lot prepared for this show. Firstly, we are going to get the tactics board out. We're going to go through the Arsenal and Manchester United 3-2 victory. We're going to delve into the tactical side, what I want to see improve from the players or the individual sense, what we did better in the second half to really bring home the 3 points. And of course, we will be looking at Rangnick's new era as Manchester United manager, how he's going to come in and change the system, how he's going to change certain things from that game. He was, of course, in the stands. What did he take away from that game? What does he want to improve? And of course, we will be delving into other details as well. But listen, nevertheless, if you are joining us live in the studio, please get your questions in, get your comments in the chat. Please feel free to drop a like on the video. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are trying to get down to 1.3K subscribers if possible prior to the new year. Bit of a stretch, but nevertheless, it's definitely achievable. Keep sharing, follow on Usman Talks United, and yeah, continue to support the homie. I'm just trying to set up the laptop as well, so obviously I can share my screen as I normally do here on the channel. Before we get to that, just want to get a couple of comments. Shout out to everyone who is tuning in live. I appreciate you as always. First things first, we've got Brush always coming in with a popcorn emoji. Man knows it's going to be a lit show. You love to see it. Got the United way as always in the chat saying yes, boys. Young Lang in the chat, shout out to you. How destroyed is Ronaldo's back at this point? I mean, it must be out in bits from carrying. And we got United way saying like and subscribe to thy channel. But like I said, I have got a mouse, people. I finally got one. So I say finally. Only started doing the tactics stuff recently, but I have got a mouse, which of course means I'm more able to move around the little bits and pieces and the little components. But yeah, we're going to start with going over the Arsenal victory. Manchester United 3-2 winners. Light work at the end of the day. I mean, for me personally, it was a nice opportunity for us to play against someone who's basically a minnow. A poor team gave us a bit of confidence, and that's exactly what we needed. We needed a bit of confidence. You know, the team was struggling at the time, and Arsenal come just stroll into Old Trafford and get slapped. It's what they do. I mean, for me, for one, I was just happy that it was Arsenal that was on the back of another L. So happy days. Credit to I was about to say Arteta, but credit to Carrick. You know, he's come, he saw, he's conquered, he's delivered on what we needed from him. But I'm going to get a quick sip while we're loading this up. But yeah, so he's delivered on what I wanted from an interim manager. He's come in and he's done this thing. So as simple as that. Happy days. But anyways, as we can see, let's just make the screen bigger. Party hard. And then a party hard. Oh, made it smaller. Daneyo. Right, hopefully that's full screen. Hopefully you lovely people can see it. Shout out to Carrick, obviously, as I was kind of saying while I was loading this up. Huge respect to him. He stepped down as well, so I wish him all the best as a manager. But I completely agree with his decision. I think it's time for him to go and learn his trade elsewhere. But I kind of brought this graphic up to really focus on Manchester United and analyze the game in a sense. I know it's not really too integral to analyze the game because the manager is no longer there, but I want to analyze it from the perspective of the players. Of course, we talk about the managers, we talk about the tactics, and we can go into that when Rangnick is in a couple of games in charge. But I really want to focus on the players and the stuff that they need to improve on an individual level to really kickstart Man United season. First things first, we have got the ball. Well, let's just move. I don't know, we'll leave it there. So, first things first, we got the ball with the left side of centre back. In this case, it was Harry Maguire. One of my biggest critiques at the moment with Manchester United players is we move the ball too slowly. So Maguire is moving the ball from left to right along the back line with no real purpose. That was one of the biggest flaws in the first half for me personally. We're not really playing with any purpose. We're not playing with any intensity. The tempo was far too slow for me. I think if you're going to have any success in the Premier League, it's integral that you move the ball with purpose. We needed more cutting edge passes, the ball played through the line. We need the tempo to be a lot quicker. The ball was basically traveling at 2 miles per hour. When the ball was getting to Fred and McTominay in particular in the first half, we saw a lot of this sideways, McTominay in particular. Absolutely shocking performance from him in the first half, alongside Fred. Both very careless on the ball, but in particular, they were not passing it with any real pace. They were not really passing it with any desire to actually move the ball quicker. I'm just moving the players around because obviously this isn't exactly how we currently play. So this is kind of, this is kind of similar to how we play at the moment. Let's say McTominay's got the ball there. Instead of trying to pass the ball through to Bruno or switching the ball over here to where Jaden Sancho was, McTominay, all he does is pass it sideways. Let's just say Delo's in here. Passes it sideways, passes it back to Fred. Fred then recycles it back to Maguire. Maguire then passes it to the left back, which in this case was Salah, and then he just recycle. Just all they do is recycling the ball, and this is one of the biggest criticisms of Manchester United Football Club at the moment. For me personally, as a fan watching this, I need to see Manchester United moving the ball with purpose. I need to see Manchester United show a bit of desire on the ball, show a bit of risk taking, show a bit of cojones. It's a very safe football. The entirety of the first half was save. And for me, that was one of the biggest issues. These are the kind of balls that we've seen. Side, backwards, maybe that way. Oops, sorry. Moved the wrong player there. This is all we were seeing in the first half, and this is the problem at Manchester United. This is one of the things that Rangnick needs to change. The ball was basically doing this the whole first 45 minutes, and that has been a reoccurring thing at Manchester United Football Club. A lot of the time, when the players got the ball in the middle of the park, they're not willing to take a risk. They're not willing to make something happen. They're happy to pass the ball backwards. Some of that is down to quality, of course, and some is that potentially down to lack of confidence. But for me personally, as a manager at Manchester United Football Club, it's integral that you instill this positive mindset into the players and know that they need to be passing forward. And that is exactly what Rangnick's already done in his first press conference. He has come in and made it be known that Manchester United Football Club have to play attacking football. Manchester United need to not be making these sideways passes. Under Rangnick's regime, he wants the ball to be played forward through the lines. He wants a more progressive pass. That is a shocking drawing. I'm new to this, as you can tell. But he wants the ball to be played through the lines down to Jaden Sancho here. Of course, that's not the most progressive pass, but potentially a pass through the lines here as well. If I can just draw that up there, through the lines there. More progressive passing. This is where Manchester United should be aiming to improve when we see Rangnick in charge. For me, this is my biggest critique at the moment. In particular, in the Arsenal game, a lot of the passes from McTominay and Fred were very reserved, very easy to read, and without any tempo, without any punch. You got to punch the ball into your teammate, which is rolling the ball 4 or 5 yards with no real desire or purpose. And for me, that is where the biggest criticism lies in the first half. What we need to improve alongside that is more people taking risks. Risk-taking is very integral at Manchester United. If there was pillars of being a Man United footballer, risk-taking would be one of them. For example, Jaden Sancho has the ball here. We need to start committing more bodies forward. Scott McTominay, Fred, which is why we actually scored 2 of the goals, was because Fred eventually started making third-man runs from deep into the box, which eventually allowed us to create overloads in the box. And for Bruno Fernandes's goal, which was over here where Fred squared it back to him, this is basically how Man United's team looked. We had this many players in the box. So Sancho got the ball, played it across to Fred, and the Fred eventually passed it to Bruno, who slapped it past Ramsdale, who is a bit overrated, but it is what it is. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 people landing up in the box. And for me personally, that's very important. We need to start taking more risks. We need to start committing more body forward. Yes, it's important that we don't leave ourselves exposed at the back. However, at the same time, Manchester United Football Club, we need to be setting ourselves up to win games. And if we're playing cautious football, we're not really going to reap any benefits under a Rangnick system. And for me, I'm excited to see what Rangnick does. I'm excited to see how Rangnick comes and tears it up, in the sense that he comes and gives the license to the players to join the attack. So let's just pull that back, because this is what we've seen under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot. very rigid formation. You've got everyone playing in the positions. We've got a 4-2-3-1. McFred, of course, in the double pivot as they always were. We've got Sancho, Ronaldo, Bruno, and Rashford, for example. Basically, all we were seeing was these two with the ball, 6 and 8, pass the ball to number 10, for example, not during the attack, basically just stand here while the ball is getting played around here. Sometimes the fullbacks would overlap. And that's an issue. We need one of these two players here, 6 or 8, during the attack. Automatically, you've got, I mean, it basically creates a 4-3-3 in that case, but automatically you've already got a bit of an overload. You're giving the opposition more to deal with. So let's just get a couple of questions in. Keep getting your comments in, your thoughts on what I'm talking about. If you've got any questions regarding that, let's get a couple in here. Respect Carrick. Don't they know how to pass the first touch? I mean, you wouldn't think that Manchester United know how to play first touch football. That is true. For me personally, a lot of the times, from when I watched them, they've been very poor in terms of moving the ball quickly. There's been a couple of moments here and there, but we've seen us play first touch football. But again, this is something that definitely needs to improve. So when Ralph doesn't like backward side passes, Howard, Maguire, and Scott Fair, I mean, it's a good question. Maguire, for me personally, yesterday was actually quite good. The one thing I like about Harry Maguire, if I just take that comment down yesterday, was he was very aggressive in the tackle. So let's just move Fred there. Let's say number 4's played the ball to number 7. Instead of Maguire staying in a position here and obviously being a bit more conservative, he was right on the back of their player. Of course, that then does mean Tellers has to tuck in. Otherwise, number 10, as you can see, is basically got a free run, which is really important. That Tellers then does tuck in here. That comes to organisation. But Maguire was very quick. He was nicking the ball here. Fred was nicking the ball high up the pitch as well, which is really important for Manchester United under Rangnick's system. But yeah, for me personally, Maguire definitely needs to improve on the ball and off the ball in general. His overall game has been nowhere near good enough. As we mentioned with Scott McTominay, he's going to have to improve very quickly because I don't think he's going to fit into Rangnick's system in terms of passing the ball through the lines and obviously taking risks. So that'll be interesting to see how Scott McTominay fares. Every time you pass forward or a few touches involved, we tend to score. Fair point. Would Donny benefit with the late runs into the box? Yeah, Donny van de Beek is the player that I'm most excited to see. I really hope he gets his chance under Rangnick. I do feel that Donny is very much suited to a Rangnick system in the sense that he's got this capability to run from deep and obviously find himself in a position where he can score a goal. Like we saw against Watford, the ball obviously landed on Ronaldo's head and then he knocks it down to Donny and Donny scored. So that's where we want to see Donny van de Beek. I think Donny is a very key component. Just to come back to some of the comments that Rangnick himself made in the press conference, he was talking a lot about control off the ball in particular. And I think with the players that we've got currently on the pitch with McFred, control and McFred don't go hand in hand. So it'll be very interesting to see how he implements the word control into Manchester United Football Club. Because at the moment, I would not say that Man United have had a lot of control of the ball in general. If anything, it's been the polar opposite. Man United have not been in control of many games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've kind of had brilliant moments in individual circumstances that have led us to get 3 points. But we've not really had a consistent amount of games where we've really controlled the game and impose ourselves on the opposition. So for me, how is Rangnick going to impose control in the game? It's very interesting. I think a lot of it is down to personnel, in particular the fullbacks. We saw Diego Dalot shining a lot. We will get to the player announcements very shortly, but Diego Dalot in particular shining a lot. We know from Rangnick he likes the fullbacks to push up. He likes the fullbacks to provide width, which again will give us more control if the fullbacks are good on the ball. Is Wan-Bissaka someone that fits into that? Time will tell, of course. But for me personally, Wan-Bissaka is going to have to elevate his game a lot in the final third for us to really have control of the ball. We need people who are comfortable on the ball. We need people that are progressive passers. We need people that are able to control the tempo, firstly, and of course, set ownership in terms of actually imposing themselves on the game. Scott McTominay is not that guy. Like I said, all he does, pass it sideways, pass it safe, passes it backwards, looks for the easy option. And that is not what Rangnick's about. Rangnick is looking for people that are willing to take risks and, of course, execute that more times than not. So, for me, Donny van de Beek is an obvious introduction to the team. If you're talking about control, which is something Rangnick emphasized a lot in the press conference alongside other things. For me, I'm very happy to see. I'm very intrigued, to see how Rangnick sets us up on Sunday. I think we'll get somewhat of an idea of what he's trying to do with the team. But at the same time, we need to be patient. He's going to try and experiment. But the second part of our game, which was the second half, as I've already mentioned, against Arsenal, Rangnick was at the game. So Rangnick would have saw these little things. Some things that we did really well, Arsenal, if they've got the ball here in defence, for example, if they're trying to pass the ball here to the midfielder, Fred was very good at winning the ball here, very high up the pitch. I think Fred was absolutely fantastic. That's something that we're definitely going to see a lot more of if we just get the little graphic up here, as I always do. Nice little rectangle for you beautiful people. Yeah, so for me, this is where Rangnick is going to want us to really impose ourselves on the opposition. And this is what I'm intrigued to see if something like this happens on Sunday. All Manchester United are going to set up to press high against Crystal Palace. We saw already from the last couple of games, Fred in particular has won the ball very high up the pitch and has led to very clear-cut chances in some cases against Villarreal. It led directly to a goal. So it's very interesting to see how he utilises Fred in a similar role against Crystal Palace. Is he going to allow Fred the license to really press and be aggressive in the press and hopefully set traps to allow us to capitalise on that? He hasn't got a training session, which of course isn't really going to allow him to be his tactical self in a sense. I don't want to make excuses, but it's going to take him time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while, but I'm really interested to see what happens in this rectangle here. As we can see, this is the final third to an extent. Can't extend it, but this is the final third. This is where Rangnick wants us to play football. This is where Rangnick wants us to win the ball. But as I mentioned in a previous video, Rangnick's teams tend to win the ball very high up the pitch, and Fred, for me at the moment, is going to be a key component in executing a Rangnick plan, i.e. off the ball or on the ball. Off the ball in this case, he's going to be very key, winning the ball high, getting the ball to Bruno Fernandes, and getting the ball to Ronaldo. I think it's important that we also look at the other individuals. The likes of Marcus Radford, for me, has to massively up his game in the sense of off the ball action. I don't think he was nowhere near good enough. I don't think he was covering himself in much glory. And I think Rangnick's going to come in and really shove a rocket up a lot of these players' asses, because a lot of them have been getting away with underperforming and not performing in the sense that we're not shifting their weight to an extent. If you look at all the statistics when it comes to running, we've been rock bottom for practically every single stat. So I think that's another thing that we need to look at. Fred is going to be a huge success. I would expect Donny van de Beek hopefully to be tucked in here as well. We're very high up, squeezing the opposition. Again, a couple of good passes, a good team will beat the press. But Donny and Fred, for me, absolute perfection to play in the rectangle here. They're both players that like to be aggressive on the press. They're both players that can win the ball very high up the pitch. And in Donny van de Beek's case, he's got an ability to pick a pass and really cause problems for the opposition. So for me, I'm excited. Off the back of the second half against Arsenal, I definitely saw some positive signs, some things that Rangnick can definitely build on in the near future. But again, it will take time. We need to be patient, and we need to understand that he's for the Crystal Palace game, he's only here for one day. He's got one training session, and from what I heard of the press conference, we're not really going to train in that game. So obviously we'll have to wait and see. The Young Boys game, on the other hand, is an opportunity for him to experiment. So I'm excited to see what happens in that game. So that should be very interesting. But again, let's just be patient. Let's see what happens at Crystal Palace. It's a very important game. We need to make sure we get the 3 points. But let's go on to some of the player analysis. I have got a list of players written down here in front of me. If I do miss players out, or you want me to mention anyone, please put it in the comment section. If you're watching the video on repeat, please slap a like on the video, and of course get your comments in. If there's any player you want me to speak about from a tactical standpoint, criticize or just get my thoughts on them, put it in the chat, and I will go through as many players as I possibly can. But let's get some of your questions up on the screen for you lovely people. I'm really liking the fact that I've got this mouse now. It's really helping. As you can tell from the graphic, it's helping me a lot already. It's a lot smoother, and my ability to move it. But anyways, enough of the mouse. Let's just get this up. How similar is the Ralph system compared to Klopp or Tuchel? I mean, Ralph's system is very similar to Tuchel's. I don't say Tuchel's, Klopp's. I mean, Klopp himself has pretty much sort of spoken about Ralph Rangnick to an extent of almost influencing his style of football. They call it heavy football, and I feel like Rangnick may instill a similar style to what Liverpool do. They're very aggressive in the press, they're very forward thinking, and they're very progressive with the fullbacks as well. As we know, Trent and Robertson have been very good for Liverpool. So hopefully that is something that we can expect. In terms of Tuchel, I don't think he's that similar to Tuchel, to be honest. Tuchel's a fantastic coach in his own right, but I think he's very. I think they're very different. I think Tuchel is very tactical in terms of his ability to change things in the game. He's very proactive, and that's something I like about Tuchel. And I'm hoping Rangnick is similar in the sense that he makes substitutions early. He changes the system if needs be, if it's not working during the game and things like that. So hopefully all that stuff happens in the game. As the United way said, please do slap a like and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. Trying to be more interactive with you guys, obviously given a different dynamic than just me ranting as always. But yeah, let's go through some of the players, and I want to just give my thoughts. So first things first, I'm going to start with Diego Dalot. I mentioned him very briefly earlier in the analysis segment, but for me personally, Dalot was absolutely fantastic. I thought he was brilliant going forward defensively, which is the amazing thing that I criticize him on. I thought he held his own. And there were a couple of occasions I felt like he's going to get done, but his recovery and his ability to get back, especially against Martinelli, on a couple of occasions, he was fantastic. So for me personally, Dalot, somebody who's come into the team off the back of an injury or from Wan-Bissaka, he's really taking a chance. I think Dalot, for me, deserves an opportunity to have a run of games. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka has not covered himself in any glory this season. I don't think Wan-Bissaka has really done anything to set the world alight. So I just don't see why Dalot isn't given more opportunities. Hopefully under Rangnick, who likes more progressive fullbacks, he will give Dalot a chance. I think Wan-Bissaka does need a rest. I think he also needs to sit on the bench and have that sense of competition, because his levels have also dropped massively to the player that we initially bought. Whether that's down to complacency, whether that's down to fatigue, he needs to be on the bench for me either way. So very happy with Dalot. Took his opportunity. Fair play to him. Hopefully he can continue to get minutes, and hopefully he can stay consistent, because he's very, he's very inconsistent at the moment. His performance against Danjuma from Villarreal was absolutely horrendous. He got ripped a new one. So I was really happy defensively more than anything. Going forward, that pass to Radford that set up the second goal, which was Ronaldo's, was absolutely top draw. Really good reverse pass. And for me personally, that was a very crucial moment of the game. And look, at the end of the day, we got the 3 points. Dalot massively contributed to that goal alongside other things. But let's move on to another player. Going to actually mention Telles now that we're on the fullbacks conversation. I thought Telles definitely had a good game as well. I just feel like with him, he's more prone to making mistakes. He did make a mistake, and we kind of got away with it. Saka took too long, and Fred got across and blocked this shot. But again, little details like that. Telles, I think, a couple of occasions very rash in the tackle. But similar to Dalot, his recovery, I thought he was well off the pace against Martinelli, but he came back and he fucking covered himself in glory, and he celebrated as well. Loved the passion from Telles. That's what you want to see. I do love the passion from the boys, Dalot and Telles. And obviously, it's not about passion, because that would make me think of passion, as Sean calls him. It's not only about passion, it's about ability, but it's good to see that as well. Just fires up the crowd a bit, especially against such a big, it's a big opposition, but it's such a big game for us this season. I thought Telles definitely improving, Dalot definitely improving. I think Telles' delivery into the box is fairly good as well. So I like Telles. But yeah, let's keep going down the list. Oh, God, Sean's coming. What a timing. Fred, also, let's talk about Fred. For me personally, I've just very briefly, I've gone into a fair bit of detail explaining why Fred would be good at Manchester United under Rangnick. I suppose I kind of explained it enough. McPash, maybe. Tellers, let's just get a couple of comments before. Tellers was passionate and his delivery is very good into the park. Let's have a look. Delo played very well yesterday. Where can he improve with Ralph? Good question. All right, I didn't see that. Okay, good question. Delo, where he can improve? Of course, defensively, he needs to improve. That goes without saying. I think his positional sense isn't good enough. His ability one-on-one defending is still something that remains a worry, should we say. It's definitely a concern, without a shadow of a doubt. So that's something that definitely needs to improve as well. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, let's move on to Fred. Very briefly, I'm going to keep it very short because I have gone into detail with Fred as well. He just needs to continue to keep it safe, not safe, but in terms of simple, get the ball, win the ball, move it on. I think he tries to overcomplicate things a lot. And the tempo, he needs to speed you up. Him and McTominay in particular, way too slow on the ball, which is something that massively grabs me the wrong way. Moving on to the front line, Jaden Sancho. What a player. Look, somebody who's been heavily criticised so far in his tenure at Man United, mainly because people base all their livelihood off statistics. And for me personally, Sancho just shown why stats don't matter yesterday. Both unbelievably pivotal in yesterday. Sancho's perspective, both very pivotal in 2 goals where he played the ball to Fred, basically parting the entire defense, and then Fred did the rest, which was absolutely fantastic. Excuse upon, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, it went over your head. But man's got bars. But yeah, for me, Sancho, fantastic. IQ, unbelievable. He's only going to get better with a more progressive attacking coach. And people need to be patient with this guy. This guy's got the world at his feet and is a real talent. And he's starting to show in the last 3 games in particular. Since Ollie's left, ironically enough. He did play on the left, which I wasn't happy about. But nevertheless, he impacted the game when it mattered. I wouldn't say he had a scintillating performance, but his IQ is second to none. He makes the right decision for me. More time than not, 9 out of 10 times, he's making the right decisions. There's a couple of occasions where he's a bit sloppy on the ball, and Tommy Ostia had the better of him, but overall, fairly solid performance. Got a comment here from Samison Sancho is a baller, absolute fact. Real, recognised, real. I'm going to go over to a bit of the critiques. In fact, actually, let's stay on the front line. Let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, the most disrespected player in the Premier League, in the Man United ranks at the moment. I mean, for me, I've said it time and time again, Cristiano Ronaldo will bail us out time and time again if he gets the service. 12 goals in all comps already, scoring 2. Yes, the first one was a tapping, but brilliant movement for him. Right place, right time. Second goal, composure personified. Was there any doubt if he was in the Mr. Penalty? Absolutely not. Hits it straight out of the middle of the net. You love to see it. But yeah, for me, look, Ronaldo speaks for himself. I don't need to sit here and go waxing lyrical on Cristiano Ronaldo. Clearly the man of the match for most people on the pitch, probably myself as well to an extent. But people just need to get off his back, man. The guy's delivering time and time again, so I think we need to put some respect on greatness. But yeah, moving on to a couple of critiques before we move on to a couple of things Rangnick said. First thing first, Marcus Rashford. Right. I've done a record of late, very recently actually, to defend Rashford because I feel like people were overly criticising him. However, his performance the other day, or yesterday even, was shocking. Straight up, absolutely shocking performance against Arsenal. I thought Rashford was very, very poor. Mediocre performance. His work rate was absolutely shambolic. A lot of people talking about Cristiano Ronaldo and his inability to press and whatnot. People need to focus on a young lad in Marcus Rashford who's walking around the pitch and offering nothing on the ball. I know he got the assist, and it was a great pass from him to obviously set Ronaldo up for the second goal. But his overall play was just poor, non-existent performance from him. Really disappointing. And that's something that he needs to improve on. That's not good enough. At the end of the day, he's a confidence player. He does need an arm over his shoulder here and there, but you got to do the basics, man. You got to do the basics, which is effort, minimum. And I think in moments he let himself down a lot. If his name was Martial, I think he would have got highlighted a lot more than it did. But obviously, being the English darling, it didn't really get mentioned. It was massively overlooked. And I'm surprised he stayed on the pitch for so long because he really didn't do much apart from that assist for Ronaldo's goal. But that's my thoughts on Rashford. I do believe in him. I do still think he's got the ability to be a world beater. But he needs to sort this shit out because it's not acceptable, to be quite frank. And the last guy I want to talk about, Scott McTominay, Scott Mayonnaise, whatever you want to call him. This guy, right? I've never been so pissed off with a player, man. Well, that's it in my life, but I have. But I've never been so fuming at a player. He was just passing it, save. Every single opportunity he had, save. Didn't want to take any risks, didn't want to break the lines, didn't want to do anything adventurous. Just pass the ball 2 yards to the guy next to you. That's all he was doing. And it was honestly getting to the point that I was going to just throw something on the TV because he needs to fix up. It's nowhere near acceptable. You can't be playing week in, week out in a Man United midfield playing like that. I just don't see how that is feasible. And as I've already mentioned, if Rangnick is talking about control, then there's no way Scott McTominay gets into that team because he does not offer us control. If anything, he offers the opposite. He slows down the tempo. He doesn't pass forward. He doesn't take any risk. He passes it sideways, passes it backwards, looking for the safe option every single time. And for me, that is a huge drawback. It affects the momentum of the team. It slows down our attacks. Let me just sit up. It slows down our attacks, and in general, for me, it's not acceptable. I don't want to see McTominay starting on the weekend. I'm going to be really upset if McTominay and Fred are both starting together. I think potentially separately they have something to offer to the team as squad players, but together, man, that needs to be the last time we see them, unless everybody else is injured or we've got a dead rubber game. I don't want to see McFred play a game together. Like, as simple as that. Surely Donny van de Beek starts over one of these two because there's no way them two start, man. It's just actually fuming. Let's get a couple of comments in. McTominay can't even get into Scotland midfield. Big fans. Scott really annoys me. Would Scott even make the bench with Ralph and Shaw? I mean, he'll make the bench. I don't agree that he won't make the bench. He'll definitely be in the bench. He'll definitely be in the squad. I think he's a good squad player at best. But like I said, I do not want to see him starting anytime soon because I've had it up to here with Scott McTominay and him passing it sideways. Literally, I wanted to pull my hair out. It was so frustrating. But yeah, let's move on to the main man himself. A new era is upon us at Manchester United. Listen, first things first, get your comments in. I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? If you're watching this on repeat, let a brother know. How are you feeling by the new era? Do you listen to the press conference? If you haven't, make sure you listen to it. Secondly, what did you make of the press conference? Like, for me, just want to start with the notion that, well, firstly, I want to start with the fact that it's refreshing to hear a manager speak so eloquently and a man with so much football knowledge. It's just educating. It was just an education on football philosophy, tactics, identity, everything, man. And for me, fair play to Ralphie baby, as his comments are saying. I just thought it was an absolute breath of fresh air. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you got to put it on the pitch. We've heard people say X, Y, and Z before. And yeah, I agree. People have definitely said that in the past. But he has got a track record of playing attacking football. And he has got a track record of delivering a certain style, a certain brand of football. So I'm excited to see what he can do with these crop of players. He spoke very highly of the crop of players we've got. In particular, all the attacking line. Of course, he knows Jaden Sancho from his Dortmund days. He was talking about how he was trying to get him to RB Leipzig. And obviously I was trying to convince him to go there. So he knows Sancho well. He's someone that he's admired for a long time. Greenwood, Martial, Rashford spoke highly of their talent, trying to develop their talent, trying to make them into better players. And that, for me personally, is music to my ears. They need a massive education. Rashford in particular hasn't really had the opportunity to learn off anyone. He's had Oli and Jose Mourinho as his two managers since he's become a first team player. And again, this isn't an excuse for him, but that education is nowhere near good enough and nowhere near compared to what he's about to get. So I'm expecting a lot of our players to really start to improve as they learn from a real professor of the game. So that is something that's very exciting. Of course, for me personally, I'm happy that he's talking about keeping control of the game, and obviously focusing on how we can improve in that sense. And I think it's really important as well that he was also focusing on our defense and the defense frailty. He really went into detail regarding our inability to keep clean sheets. He was saying we're averaging or conceding 2 goals a game, and that's nowhere near good enough. I mean, that's what you'd expect a new manager to say. But at the same time, I really hope there is further emphasis on the defense, but not too much emphasis that it sort of negates our attack to an extent. So that'd be interesting to see how he balances that out. He did say the word balance a fair few times, which again fills me with a lot of happiness, because that is something that we haven't had in our team in general. Balance, identity, and a clear structure and plan, man. These are the things that he's coming and saying. In general, it spoke very, very well. As I mentioned, it was an absolute breath of fresh air, an education of football. And I'm excited to see what he can bring to the team. It's going to take a while, but Ralph is here. A new era is upon us. Keep getting your questions in. Keep getting your comments in. A few of you have to start to join, so I appreciate that. Obviously, if you are joining, get your thoughts in. We've covered a fair bit. Please do slap a like on the video as well. Just want to get this comment from Pyramid Scheme. Big up the Mandem and the United Way. 6 months. I don't know that months. In 6 months, I don't know what that means. Do you think our players need far too much improvements? Is 6 months enough? I mean, that's a fair question. Do I think our players need a lot of improvement? Look, some of the players probably need, I mean, some of the players definitely do. The likes of Scott McTominay, for me, if he wants to be a Manchester United player, he needs to improve drastically. His mindset needs to improve. His ability to pass the ball through the lines needs to improve. But not just to pick on him, a lot of the players need to improve a lot. Wan-Bissaka, Delo, Telles, Shaw, the fullbacks need to improve. The centre backs need to improve. There's a lot of players I can read off. A lot of them that definitely need to improve. Is 6 months enough time? Time will tell if it's enough time. But for me personally, it's important that we don't try to hire him as a full-time manager. I have previously said that I wouldn't mind it, but having thought about it, it's important that we stick to the plan. We need him as a consultant because he's got unbelievable connects in the football world, and he's got the ability to really basically set us up for a long time in terms of provide us with the real foundations to be a successful club long term. So I think it's important that we keep that picture in mind. And also, to answer your question, I do think he's got the capabilities of coming in and really elevating some of the players' games. And I think a lot of our players are playing at 70% of their ability, some even lower than that. I think a lot of players can improve, and I think we're going to see a vast improvement once the system is embedded into the team. So as the Pyramid says here, completely agree with you, bro. The season starts now. Absolutely. Manchester United season is finally upon us. You know, we're well behind. We're giving the other teams a head start, but still very early in the season. Only 14 games have played, which of course means there's 24 games left. May not sound like a lot, but in football, that is a crazy amount. A lot can change in 24 games. I'm not saying that we can somehow claw back a 12-point lead on the tiles. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is the top 4 is definitely up for grabs for us, and I want us to actually start going on a run. In the next 15 games, our hardest game is West Ham, so I definitely think we can start to build an identity in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, pick up points as well on the way, because they're a bit easier games, the favourite fiction, so to speak. And then when we start to play the better teams in March, we can start to really see the fruits of our labour under Ralph Rangnick's coach team. So for me personally, for the first time in a while, it's a very positive moment as a Manchester United fan. I'm just happy with a new change in direction. So we need to enjoy it. We need to enjoy the moment. Hopefully, it's the start of things to come, and hopefully it's the start of some attacking, free-flowing football, because we've got the players to really hurt the opposition if we can utilise them. And I'm happy that he spoke about Martial. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I'm really happy that he said Martial only played 5 minutes and Greenwood didn't even play. Kind of hinted on the fact that he's going to give these guys a chance. Of course, Greenwood for me is a top player, and he's going to come good again. But Martial in particular, he needs a chance. He's not really had that chance this season. I know he's not covered himself in glory, but he definitely needs an opportunity to rectify that. A lot of the players have got a clean slate. And I think it's important that we understand that it's going to take time for some of these players to get used to the system. They're going to run the most they've ran at Manchester United Football Club for the first time. Some of these players haven't run nowhere near the amount they're going to run in the next couple of weeks to really get up to speed. But people like Martial and Co, if they can't do it under a Rangnick system where it's free-flowing attacking football, then they're just not built for this club. So clean slate for all the attackers. Hopefully they step up and hopefully they show us what they're about. If not, they will not be here. It's as simple as that. So for me, I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to give these guys time, and I'm hoping some of these guys deliver. So when we get this comment up, I just want to see us start to play good football. It's been 8 years of absolute garbage. I mean, completely agree and echo that sentiment. That's basically where I'm at the moment. I just want to see Man United start to play progressive, attacking football and really start to impose themselves on the opposition, especially in the coming weeks where we've got lesser opposition. I want us to be aggressive in the press, as I've shown with the graphic earlier. So let's just bring it back up just to finish off. Just give me a second. So yeah, as I've showed earlier, for those of you that have just joined us, I want us to be playing football here in the final third. So I think it's important under Rangnick that we are playing football here. So as you can see, the opposition got the ball there. Number 4, this is where we need to be playing football. We've got everyone marking everyone. Very aggressive press for Manchester United, and really just being ruthless. I think it's really important that we start to see this bit of ruthlessness in this, the aggression in the press. I'm playing in the final third. When I say playing in the final third, I'm talking about off the ball and on the ball. On the ball, obviously, that goes without saying. We want to be in the final third to hurt the opposition. Of course, sustaining attacks is important. But to sustain attacks, it's important that we play a high line here. We've got Maguire and Varane, for example, squeezing the opposition in, not giving them the capabilities of getting out of this rectangle here. But we want it to be difficult for them. We want them to work for it. And I think that's something that we're going to see under a Rangnick team. He's really going to make the opposition work for every single ball. And that's something that's going to take time because, like I said, the players are going to be well below fitness and they really need to get up to that. So for me, this is what I'm going to see every time we haven't got the ball. So this little crop, this little phase here, this is to be the thing. Every time we haven't got the ball, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Man United players against 2, 4, 6, 7 opposition players. Of course, that would be overload in their favour, which would then mean pushing a couple more players up. It's very rare that teams play. So pushing people up and obviously squeezing the opposition in. And I think for me, this is where Manchester United are going to have a lot of success under Rangnick in this rectangle here. Really hitting the opposition. Fred in particular, as I mentioned earlier, winning the ball here, playing aggressive. Van der Beek again, hopefully very aggressive. And Bruno Fernandes, hopefully more disciplined. Bruno. I need to see Bruno in this little area here where I'm spinning him around. I don't want to see Bruno over here. I don't want to see Bruno down here. I don't want to see Bruno here. Stay in your position. Discipline. And that's something that we need to instill in the team as well. Discipline off the ball and on the ball. That's something that I'm excited to see what Rangnick can do and instill in terms of the mindset of these players. But listen, I'm going to finish off with a quick score prediction and my thoughts for the Crystal Palace game. If you haven't already, please do slap a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. The only way I know you like this kind of content is if you slap a like. If this is the kind of content you want me to upload more frequently, I mean, I've basically uploaded a video every single day for the last year and a half. I'm very consistent with my uploads, so I would appreciate any support. But if this is the kind of content you like, slap a like. Obviously, you follow me there. What's my talk tonight on Twitter, which is where I post all my updates regarding when I'm going live and also just Manchester United news. If you want to keep up to date with my United news, you need to make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. But yeah, get your score predictions in for Crystal Palace. I mean, it's really hard for me to sit here and really analyze a game that we know nothing about in terms of why Rangnick sets up. One thing I will say is injury news. Matic is out. I believe Wan-Bissaka's potentially still out, which also means, I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but we know Matic is out. We know Wan-Bissaka's out, so potentially. And obviously the other injuries like Pogba and co. So anyways, from their perspective, I'm hearing Zaha is out. And just so hopefully that is the case because that would be a massive positive. But Eze is back in the team as well from what I'm aware of. Complete ballers. I am worried about him. So that is something that is going to concern me. The game is always won in the midfield, but I'm hoping he sticks to what he said when he says we need more control in the game. So I hope that means Van der Beek is playing, because if Van der Beek's playing with Fred in a double pivot, I'm going to be absolutely buzzing. We have got 2 score predictions in. We've got United way saying 2-0, and we've got the Pyramids game saying 3-1. Listen, for me, Manchester United will win. It's a new era, it's a new dawn, and I'm feeling good. But for me, we are going to concede a goal. I think that's going to take a lot of time. I am actually going to agree with this score prediction here. I have gone 3-1 Manchester United. Ronaldo to bag another brace. The guy is an absolute machine, and I can assure you he's going to get a lot more opportunities to score under a Rangnick system. So this is the start of hopefully an influx of goals for Manchester United Football Club. But listen, that has been your podcast, A New Era, or Manchester United back. I haven't even answered the question on the title. For me, not yet. It is going to take a long time. We need to understand what the sort of expectation of Rangnick are, and this season, sadly, it's only getting top 4 and potentially winning a trophy. So Manchester United are not back just yet, but time will tell. I do think we are heading in the right direction under Rangnick. I do think the appointment is the right appointment, and I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. Finally, Manchester United have got some identity, a clear structure, and a clear plan, and a path to really follow. So that's really important for me. But anyways, that has been your podcast. This is my 3rd podcast of the day, back to back to back. It's been a long day for me. So if you are watching this on repeat, all I would ask is if you drop a like. It's completely free. And of course, subscribe to thy channel. I appreciate all the support. Potentially back tomorrow if there's any other news regarding anything. But if not tomorrow, we'll definitely be back on Sunday for a watch along and a match reaction. So make sure you stay tuned for that. The game is, of course, at 2 o'clock. So we will be live at 1:45 on Sunday, 110%. So if you haven't, please check out the watch along. And after that, match reaction, and we are back Monday, 10 o'clock. I know we normally record 9 o'clock, but we're back at 10 o'clock on Monday this time because Arsenal are playing Everton. So we are going to record straight after that game. So 10 o'clock Monday and 1:45 p.m. UK time on Sunday. Watch along. Manchester United v Crystal Palace. Join me for that one. Apart from it's been your boys, man. I just want to give some last shout outs before we go. The United Wrestling, great show. Thank you as always for your support. Just as commented, Hender, Delo, Bailly, Vicky, Tellez, Fred, Donny, Ronaldo, Sancho, Marcel. Interesting. Gonna watch it back, missed the first few minutes. Nobody's pyramid. Thank you very much. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in. I appreciate the support as always. But it's been your boys, man.